quick recording here to demonstrate how to use adjustment layers with effects and also how to use the mask tracker. So in this example here, you can see I'm using the same stock footage clip that I used in an earlier lesson here, and I've spotlighted or highlighted the guy in the crowd with the white hair. So here's what it looks like without the effect, and then with the effect. So in this demo, I'm going to show how to use adjustment layers with masks to kind of isolate where you add an effect, and then we'll see how we can track it using the mask tracker. All right, so I'll start over here. I'm going to make a new project, and I'm going to import the stock footage clip that I was using. I'm going to drop it in a new comp that matches the settings. Now, we've seen in previous lessons, you can add an effect directly to a layer, right? If I did a color correction effect, for example, like brightness and contrast, but the thing with that is it affects the entire layer. So what if you want to just isolate part of the layer to add the effect? And of course, if the effect is directly on the layer and then you mask the layer, well, you're masking the layer and the effect. So that is not what you want to do. I'm going to undo. And instead of adding the effect directly to the layer, you make an adjustment layer. You go Layer, New, Adjustment Layer. An adjustment layer is basically like a clear see-through layer that you can put effects on that will affect the underlying layers. So we make an adjustment layer, we add any effects that we want to apply to it. So again, I'll just do a color correction brightness contrast for this demo, putting the brightness level down at minus 150 here. Now again, it's affecting everything, but because I've got the effect on an adjustment layer, I can take the shape tools or the pen tool and I can create a mask around the area that I want to limit the effect to. So for example, if I made a mask around the guy's head and then I want the effect to be outside of the mask, you can see that it's masking the effect. Down here in the timeline, there's an invert option next to that mask group, and that will invert which side of the mask the effect is being applied to. Now in this example, though, the guy in the crowd is going to move, and of course the mask is going to stay stationary. I do not want to have to manually animate the mask path myself. Now, fortunately, I don't have to. After Effects has a mask tracking feature that we can use to try and help us out with that. Now, to get good results, though, with the mask tracker, you need to make your mask area smaller. See, I've made it too big here. It's including too much of the background behind the guy's head. So I'm going to delete that mask. And to get a better result here, I need to make the mask smaller. So kind of limiting it to just the pixels that I want it to try and follow. So in this case, I'm going to make it just, a little bit smaller than his head, and I'm going to make sure I'm including this white hair. Now, while I'm doing the tracking here, I'm actually going to turn off my effects by clicking the effects switch, because I don't really need to see the effects right now. And then I can be more precise in placing or sizing my mask. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I've already got the tracker panel on my screen, but if it's not showing, you go to your animation menu, you go down to track mask. If it's grayed out, it's because you don't have your mask group selected. So make sure you do have your mask group selected on the layer, and then go to animation, track mask. That'll bring up the tracker panel. And just like doing basic motion tracking, you're just going to use the analyze buttons to analyze the footage forward or backward. So I'll go ahead and analyze forward. And you can see that the mask automatically is moving, rotating, and scaling with the guy's head. So I'll go ahead and let it just go through the first, maybe about 10 seconds here, just for demonstration. Now you can see it's kind of, scaling up and down quite a bit. You can change the method option here to limit it to just position or individual properties. But in this case, I'm just doing a fairly loose, kind of vignette around the guy's head, so it'll be fine. But you can experiment with these method options. Now, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and stop it from analyzing when we get to about 10 seconds here. Just, to keep it short. There we go. That's good. I'll bring the time marker back. You can see the mask is moving pretty well with the guy's head. So I'll turn my effects for the layer back on. And again, the effect is being shown inside the mask shape. So I'll click the mask invert option. And then within the mask group, I'll open up the mask group here and use the mask expansion to expand the mask edge out. And then feather the edge, so I soften it. I'll set my work area here at approximately 10 seconds and do a preview and see how it looks. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So you can see using adjustment layers with masks is a way to limit where the mask is being applied to the layer. And you can use the mask tracker to assist with animating the mask path property and getting the mask to track with the area that you're trying to isolate. Now, of course, once you've set something like this up, you can then experiment with different effects, right? If I go back to my effect control panel for the layer, maybe I do a different effect like, make sure I've got my layer selected, and maybe I do a different effect like stylize mosaic instead of the brightness and contrast. I'll put mosaic with, maybe I'll put the blocks at 160 by 90, and then I'm going to invert the mask back the other way. So there we go, doing like a, obscuring the guy's identity, right? If we were working on a documentary and we needed to obscure the identity of somebody within a clip or something like that, you can see this is a very easy way to do it. All right, hopefully that gives you some ideas for using adjustment layers, and I will see you in the next recording.